in Kiribati, the people are very, very friendly. They have this like attitude of we can't say no. So as far as like tracting or going to people's houses, a lot of people will just invite you in, and it's part of their culture to invite whoever, the foreigner, whoever's there, to come in to have a drink. They'll provide you with some drink and to hear your message. Now, whether they act up, whether they really want to hear it or not want to hear it, you have to judge that for yourself. But some culture tips in Kiribati, there's some things. A lot of people, you're sitting on the ground, so you need to keep your legs crossed. If they hurt, like my knees hurt when I first got there all the time, you just need to scrunch them up. You can't be kind of just open with your legs, especially the bottoms of your feet should not be facing anyone in particular. It's kind of a sign of disrespect. But yeah, they're very friendly, kind. Some things to be aware of is if there's some problems within the family, or if you come across people maybe fighting or doing something like that, it's in the Kiribati culture to not engage, to not engage into family matters. So, for example, if you saw someone hurting someone else and it was the husband and wife, you as a missionary, you're not supposed to engage in that. You're not supposed to come and break that off, but you wait for the proper authority to come and do that. That's one thing I kind of had a hard time with, but yeah, you're not supposed to involve yourself in those situations, and because if you do, then it's really a sign of disrespect towards them. So to be aware of that. Now in the Marshall Islands, they've gotten a little more American influence, because when after World War II, America became the protectorate of the Marshall Islands before they gained their independence, and so it's a lot nicer. The people they have more money. The houses are a lot nicer. They're still very friendly. You're not as likely to, I don't know, one example would be when I was in Kiribati, they would always feed us every night. We'd always have a dinner appointment. Whether these people had the money or not, they found a way to feed us, whether it was a small dinner or whatnot. But the wards are all about feeding the missionaries and whatnot. But in the Marshall Islands, you're not necessarily going to be going to someone's house for dinner every night. If you show up and they're eating, you're going to eat with them. That's just kind of the custom there. But the Marshall Islands is a lot nicer houses. They're still friendly in the sense that a lot of them will invite you into their house, but you'll find more of the time that you actually need to, only the more willing people will invite you in, and depending on who it is. And I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing, because in the Kiribati sense, you get to every house, but you don't know. You have to gauge if they really want to hear about this gospel. Whereas in the Marshallese sense, you're more likely to know that, hey, these people really want to hear and have a desire to learn about the gospel.
So do's and don'ts, the more practical things, right? As a potential missionary going out there. Do's, make sure that you are very, very thankful, right? When people give you things, express that. They believe in giving, but also show your gratitude for that. So that's a definite do. Do's and don'ts kind of go hand in hand. So if I say something, obviously it's applied to don't do that or do this. So I'll just kind of say stuff. In the mission, you will not wear your shoes in people's houses. So don't buy shoes that have laces on them, because you're going to be very frustrated bending down and tying your shoes every single time. Buy slip-ons, but you'll take off your shoes every single time you go to someone's house. Even if it's a very run-down shack, you will always take off your shoes, always. It's very disrespectful to wear your shoes in someone's house. Never, ever reject food, ever. People work really hard to get that food, and it's very offensive when you say I don't want it, because almost it portrays that I'm too good for what you have to offer, and it will sever a relationship between that missionary and that person. So don't do that. Don't reject food. There's a proverb they say in Marshallese. It says "Konjab elguch painak," which means don't break the foot of a bird that feeds you. If someone's giving you something, accept it and take it, even if you don't like it. Don't do this, and I'll explain what this means. So, here in America or in this culture, this is simply saying, "Hey, come here. I want to talk to you." This in Marshallese or in the Marshall Islands means it's more provocative, right? To do this, it has that connotation to it. So, little story to that. When I was brand new on my mission, and you'll make mistakes on your mission, trust me. That was my second transfer. I was on eBay, and I was I just barely arrived like 3 days before. We went to church, and the church there is really packed, but there's tons of people, right? Which is great. And I love people. And I love kids too. So I saw a group of kids, right, standing in the corner just talking, and I was, I had like a little trick I do with them, to get them to laugh kind of thing. So I went like this to them. I said, "Hey, come here. Yidok. And the missionaries, my companions, and the people in my zone, like, freaked out. They said, "Do not do that." They grabbed me, and they're just like, No. You don't do that. You don't do that." I'm like, what's wrong with that? Why can't I do that? And they're like, "No, you have to go like this." So a don't is this, and a do is this. This is how you'll call people. And when you get home from your mission, this is how you're always going to call people, because you're going to get so used to it. So don't do this. You always do this. That was so weird for me. I wasn't used to that. A don't is when two people are talking. It doesn't matter if they're across the street. So let's just say you have a road right here, and they're on opposite ends of the street, and they're talking to each other. Unless you're in a car, you can't control that, but you don't walk in front of them. And if you do, if you can't possibly go around, you have to duck your head, like crouch down, almost like you're army crawling, almost like you're completely hunched over, and you basically say, "Oh, I'm sorry, Jalak blood," and you like go under, like you do not just walk straight up. It portrays an arrogance, and it's rude when people are talking. So that's a don't, which I found was really interesting. But I still do that. Like if people are talking, like I'll like duck down and go under, so you develop habits. Trying to think some other don'ts. Don't with kids, don't pick up kids, and don't touch their heads. I say don't pick up kids because us missionaries, we can be a little rambunctious, and I accidentally dropped a kid once, and that was a really bad experience. Luckily no one saw it except for my companion, so I felt really bad. So don't pick up kids, just, play with them with your, like, with their hands or whatever, shake their hand or whatever, but don't pick them up. But as far as touching their head, the reason why they don't want you to do that is because in Marshallese custom or culture, they believe that, in a lot of other cultures really, they believe that the head is the closest thing to God, right? And their head is very sacred. So when you touch their head, it's almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost degrading, that sacredness, between them and God. So touching their head is very, very bad. Don't do that. They'll be upset about that. Trying to think of other do's. If you're a missionary and you're going out and you don't feel like comfortable with like being outgoing and you're more introverted, a do is be extroverted. Be outgoing, be funny. Marshallese people love to laugh. Like that's one thing they love to do. They'll poke fun at you. They may push your buttons sometimes, but they just love to have a good time. And if you're very standoffish and closed, like you don't want to talk, because you feel uncomfortable, they'll see that. They'll recognize it. They'll feel it. And unfortunately, they won't want to talk to you, and that's just standard for really any missionary. So I've seen it before with missionaries that don't talk compared to the missionaries that do put themselves out there and try to develop relationships. And the missionaries that do that excel a lot quicker. But it is possible if you're that type of person and you're shy, to break that shyness with Marshallese people. So try to develop those habits. Can't think of any other don'ts. Those are kind of the basics. Don't whistle at night. Don't whistle at night. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's not good at all.
Cultural do's and don'ts. Things that come to mind are whistling at night. They believe that invites the ghosts or the demons, so that was interesting to me. So you don't usually whistle at night. You don't click with your tongue, because that's kind of a bad thing. Kind of almost like a mating call is what it is. But yeah, you don't click with your tongue. Always take your shoes off when you go into somebody's house. It's disrespectful when you don't. So it's good to take your shoes off. Ask where to sit when you go into a house. If you sit where they put their head on their jackie, which is the woven mat that they sleep on the woven mat made from the fronds of their trees. If you sit in the wrong place or where they put their head, that's offensive. So probably a good thing to ask where to sit, and they'll tell you. You never step over anybody's legs. If they're sitting with their legs out or anything like that, do not step over their legs. That's very offensive to them. Walk around them, and you say, "Oh, Jolakpur." That means like, "Oh, throw away my mistake," or "sorry" is what it would mean to us in English. But yeah, that's another thing is don't step over legs. As an elder, they like seeing when the elders can just have fun. When the elders will just like start dancing for fun or something like that, or they can make funny jokes. One thing that they love that the elders do is when they'll turn their name into something goofy, because they can't pronounce a lot of our names. So for example, my last name, Makomi, I'd sometimes introduce myself, "Oh, you can call me Macaroni." And that's not super funny to us, but they just bust up laughing, and that breaks the ice when introducing yourself to someone as well. Say, "Oh, Yahweh, Edain Elder Makomi." Say, "Hello, my name's Elder Makomi. Klomarong ba Elder Macaroni." And then they just bust up laughing, and they think it's hilarious. So a lot of elders do that. They'll change their name as a joke and introduce themselves as some funny name. And then they'll compliment you on your Marshallese, and you just start joking around with them, and they love to joke around, and they love to tease. Teasing's a fun thing as well. One thing in the Marshall Islands that's another do is you never joke about their moms. It's another thing you just don't do. And so, yeah, just don't do it. But yeah, another thing that you don't do is when you go and knock on a door, make sure to knock lightly. If you knock loud, that's very offensive, and they'll be like, "Who in the world is at my door? How rude is that?" So if they find out that it's an elder at their door, they'll be even more shocked and offended. So you just knock lightly. And so, yeah, that's something I learned on the mission as well. I didn't know that for a while. So hopefully I didn't offend too many people knocking loudly. But yeah.